19-year-old Desiree Bird is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old Trayvon Whitaker, for an unpaid loan to purchase a car.
Order. All rise. Now, that's case number 6 on the calendar in the matter of Bird versus Whitaker.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Whitaker, what do you do for a living?
I work at Applebee's. I'm a host.
And how long have you worked at Applebee's?
About a month.
Prior to that, what did you do?
I didn't do anything.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Who do you live with?
I stay with my aunt.
How do you get to Applebee's?
I drive.
In what?
Car.
What kind?
A Regal.
Speak in full sentences. I drive in a car. What kind of car is it?
Buick Regal.
What year Buick Regal is it?
91.
Where did you get it from?
I bought it from my uncle.
What's your uncle's name?
Mario.
Last name?
I don't know.
You don't know your uncle's last name?
Nah.
Is he your mother's brother or your father's brother?
Nah, it's still a street relationship.
He's a street relationship.
Hey.
You ever spent any time in jail, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you spent time in jail, Mr. Whitaker?
March through July of last year.
For what?
Possession of stolen property.
What kind of property?
I really don't know. I didn't have really much to do with the case. I just took
I don't
whatever deal they
understand a
gave me.
word you're saying.
That's because you just cut me off.
What kind of stolen property?
Computers or something.
Computer.
Yeah. What does this have to do with this case?
You asking me a question? I don't
Yeah.
answer your questions.
All right.
Now, if you spent some time in jail, that means it wasn't your first experience with the criminal justice system, Mr. Whitaker. So what you thought was going to be a fun experience and a funny experience for you to come here today is going to be far from that. Now, did you take money from Miss Bird? Let's get back to it. Did you take money from Miss Bird?
No.
Do you know what Miss Bird does?
Nope.
How did you meet her?
At a store in Sacramento.
At a store?
Yeah.
What kind of a store?
A parking lot.
Tell me about the meeting that you had with Miss Bird when you first met her at a parking lot. Go ahead, Mr. Whitaker. Let's chat.
I seen her in the parking lot unloading her groceries. I spoke to her aunt first, and then I spoke to her.
What did you say to them?
I said, can I speak to your daughter?
What were you doing in the parking lot?
Leaving.
In what?
A car.
What kind of car?
It wasn't my car. I was in somebody else's car in the passenger seat that has no relevance to this situation.
Don't tell me what's relevant and what's not, Mr. Whitaker. You think that you're smooth? You're a 19-year-old zero.
I know.
Great.
Right on.
Did you take money from Miss Bird?
Oh.
Did you give Mr. Whitaker money?
Yes, Your Honor. I gave Mr. Whitaker a total amount of $7,100 on 4 different occasions. And when I met Mr. Whitaker, it was at a store. He was driving the car, so I assumed it was his car. And he had told me that he lived in Sacramento. I later found out...
What do you do?
I am a cash control clerk at a local water park.
What did you do before you just got hired at a local water park?
That was my first job, Your Honor.
How old are you?
I'm 18, Your Honor.
And where did you get all this money from?
On May 30th of 2009, me and a friend of mine were hit by a car. We were on a bike and we got hit by a car. We settled the case for $23,000. And after my attorney's got attorney's services and all the other costs, I was awarded $16,313.80. And I did not physically get the check until December 3rd of last year.
How did the charming Mr. Whitaker know about this money?
He did not know about the money until the day I was going to go to sign the check. And he was at my aunt's house, Miss Ricardo, and I told him that I had to leave, and he had to leave too, so I could go to the lawyer.
What kind of car was he driving?
He did not drive to come see me that day. He took the Greyhound, and my aunt picked him up from the bus station and dropped him off at the bus station.
You must have liked her, Mr. Whitaker, if you came by bus to her house.
Yep, naturally.
You must have liked her.
Yes, ma'am.
And you must have made arrangements for him to come there by Greyhound. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Why did you have to go the day that he arrived to pick up this check?
Because I had already made an appointment with my lawyer.
Why didn't you tell Mr. Whitaker, don't come down that day? I made an appointment with my lawyer.
I'm not sure.
Now, I didn't say to you, you have an appointment with a lawyer? What do you have an appointment with a lawyer for?
He did.
And what did you tell him?
That I had gotten hit by a car and I was going to get my check for my settlement.
And that was the first time he knew about it?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you been going out at that time?
I'd say about 3 months.
And how far away did you live from each other?
I'd say about 80 miles.
Now, show me where you deposited your check into your bank account.
I didn't actually deposit that much money in a bank account.
What'd you do with it?
I had split it up into a savings account, a
That's
checking
okay.
account.
Show me. I want to see deposits on December 2nd, 2010, within a couple of days from that, because then you say that he came and took money from you that you drew out at $2,000 intervals. I just want to see where you deposited $16,313. Now I want you to tell me about Prince Charming over here.
Okay. He had asked me for the money on the 3rd. I told him that the check had to wait to clear, so I called him when the check did clear, which was on December 10th. December 10th is when he came down here on a Greyhound, and he stayed for the 10th and the 11th. Those 2 days, I gave him $2,000 on each day because the bank would only allow me to take so much out.
What did he want the money for?
He said he wanted the money so he could buy a car, and he was also going to get me a car from his uncle.
His uncle? You mean his street uncle?
Yeah, his street uncle.
Street uncle, right? Is that what you told me earlier? Mr. Whitaker, is that what you told me before?
You got it on tape,
The street uncle, the same one that you bought the 1991 Buick from. Am I keeping you awake, sir?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And he says, I asked him, he said no, N-A-W. Which actually, you know, if you wrote no, it would have been less letters.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Desiree Bird says ex-boyfriend Trayvon Whitaker owes for a loan to purchase a car. Trayvon claims he never received any money from Desiree.
Now, you say that you gave him a total of $7,000.
Yes.
And he was supposed to buy you a car as well as buy a car for him?
Yes.
Now, I didn't hear anything about a loan.
Well, he asked me for the money, and he said he would pay me back.
What was he supposed to?
Every paycheck.
He wasn't working.
He lied. He had a job at his uncle's restaurant.
What was he doing for his uncle?
He was taking orders.
Okay. Now, he was supposed to buy you a car.
Yes.
What kind of car was he supposed to buy you?
He sent me a picture of the car.
He did?
Yes, he did.
Do you have it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
I want it. Do you think he would hold it for me? Is that what you wrote him?
Yes.
Well, I see he... It doesn't work anymore.
I could change the settings so it won't go blank. Sorry.
I just recently replaced my rotary phone with a digital. I'm just curious, who picks the names?
Like what, his contact name?
Yes.
Oh, I did that out of anger, Your Honor.
So you wrote this name?
Yes, I wrote that as his name.
Well, why did you do it out of anger? You say, me, I want it. You don't think he would hold it for me? And he answered this name that you gave him. And he says, I asked him, he said NAW, N-A-W. Which actually, you know, if you wrote no, it would have been less letters. Do you understand? And English. Okay. Now, why do you think, Mr. Whitaker, because it's really a relatively simple issue, Miss Bird says that she gave you money. Some of the money was for a hold on a car. I still didn't see the picture of the car, Bird. I don't know how to get that picture.
Just bring up the car again.
Yes, sir.
A car for you and a car for her from your street uncle. Now, she looks like a nice young lady. So the issue is, you say you didn't get any money from Miss Bird, which means that she would have to be really psychotic, which means that she took, on 3 different days, which she has memorialized from her bank records, $6,000 out of her bank. So either you're lying or she's lying.
I don't really matter. Just show me my signature where I said, you feel me, I received money, and show me my signature where I said I was going to give it back on no loan or anything.
No. I'm not saying whether it was a loan, Mr. Whitaker.
No, I'm saying give me...
There's no paper. Listen to me. There's no paper.
Then what else we got?
That's not the issue. The issue isn't whether it was a loan or a gift.
Hey, I'm not talking about that issue. I'm talking about first where I received it. Show me
But that's all I'm saying. So either she's lying that she gave you the money, handed it over to you, whether it was a loan or a gift, which is something entirely different, whether it was a loan or a gift. But you're saying she never handed you any money, correct?
Yes.
So could you explain to me what you believe her motivation for saying she gave you, somebody who has a marginal job, very little income? I mean, she could pick somebody else that she gave money to. You know, she could say she gave money to Petrie Hawkins Bird. He makes a good living, right? Why would she pick somebody who makes no living to say, I turned over money to them?
You said why?
Why?
Why are you going to ask me what's she going to do?
No, I'm asking you, what would be her motive? If she was going to pick on somebody, let her pick on somebody who has money. She picks on you, you have nothing.
I don't know.
So you think she must be crazy, right?
Maybe.
You think she's crazy?
Maybe. All I know is I ain't signed nothing, and I don't got it.
You don't what?
I didn't sign nothing. I don't know nothing.
No, I didn't ask you whether you signed anything. I know you don't know anything. I didn't ask you if you signed anything. You don't have to sign anything. That's how I make my living. If people signed things, I wouldn't have a job. Then it would be easy. I would say, you signed this, you owe the money.
All right, let me ask you this then.
You don't sign anything.
She just said that she texted me saying that my uncle had a car for her, right? And I was supposed to get the car for her. If you check the date on what she talking about, it's supposedly the date that she was supposed to give me the money, it was way after that. So if I was supposed to go get her the car, why didn't I just go grab the car right there? Why would she say, would he hold it for me? Am I right?
Just a second, Mr. Whitaker. Your question actually is a very valid one. And I'm going to ask her that question. Now, Ms. Bird, I read your complaint. And your complaint says that you gave him money on December's 10, 11, and 13.
And the 1st of January. And the 3rd of January.
Just a second. But I want you to read the date of the email that I just read when you said to him, won't he hold it for me?
Okay.
Which is a very good question, Mr. Whitaker. Why would he have to hold it if you had already given the money for it, right? That's really your question. Why are you looking over there? I'm agreeing with you. You should look happier.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Your Honor, before I gave him the money,
look at the email and give me the date of the email that you are asking the question, won't your uncle hold the car for me? I just read it, somewhere around December 27th.
December 19th.
December 19th, which was after you had already given him the money.
Exactly.
Well, then why would you ask that question, Miss Bird? Won't he hold the car for me?
Because I was out of town, Your Honor. I was in L.A. visiting my mom for Christmas. I had left Sacramento on the 17th of December. I did not get back to Sacramento until the 2nd of January.
But he had the money already. Why wouldn't he just give him the money and say it? And say, yeah, go ahead. According to you, we have the money already. Go ahead.
I don't know if she showed you or not. Another text message where she's saying she only got this amount of money in her bank, and she talking about buying the car herself. And she's like, well, I have $1,500 right now, but it's down here and I can't get to it. You feel me? So she didn't show you that though.
There is
Or
no
she
text.
was talking about buying the car herself with her money the whole time. So that's all irrelevant information what she's showing you right now too.
Your Honor.
So she just caught herself up.
Mr. Whitaker, if you would try to speak clearly so I could understand you.
All right.
Because I have a feeling that you're saying something to me that may be valid.
The point I just proved when she's saying she gave me the money on this date, but then she's saying, will he hold the car for me? But I'm supposed to already have the money. But then this other text message is in there saying, because I remember the whole conversation with her saying, I only have this amount of money in my bank right now, and I'll try to get it. And will he hold it for me till I get back? But she didn't show you them text messages, though. She cut that off. You feel me? But it's all good. I'm not tripping. That's off the record. You feel me? But
No, it's not. We're not tripping. We're not tripping.
Your Honor, I have pictures of him holding the money. He posted it on Facebook, and he posted a post on Facebook the same day I withdrew the money on the toilet counting stacks. I'm blessed, and you can see that's my finger in the picture. I took this picture.
But I thought I wasn't driving. I was on Greyhound, remember?
No, that was the 13th. This is the 13th when you drove out there.
You know how many pictures I can show you with me holding stacks?
Hey.
What?
What? Talk to her. You don't talk to her. Do you understand?
I respect that.
Okay, do that.
Would you show those pictures to him, please, Officer Byrd?
I put the pictures up there. I don't need to see. Oh, yeah. Right on. I mean, I can show you plenty of pictures of me holding money. That's not the problem. Plenty of me in the pictures with other people holding money. That don't prove nothing.
On December 13th, did you post this?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
You want to read it out loud?
On the toilet count stacks, God, I'm blessed. Now, Desiree Bird just gave me $2,000. Look at me. You feel me?
Well, so how much did she give you, sir? Did she give you $2,000 or $6,000?
I'm taking pictures.
Just a second. From where?
From
Did
where?
you get $2,000?
That's undisclosed. I didn't get it from her.
No. Did you make it at Applebee's?
I made it everywhere.
Excuse me?
Everywhere. From different stuff. I saved my money.
Just curious. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, women be mad when you stop leaving number one.
He just hung up on me and never called me after that.
I ain't got no hard feelings against her.
Stupid and dumb.
But it's the best for her, you feel me?
18, I'll never do it again.
Man, it ain't no relation.
And I've learned a lot from my mistakes.
She go her way, I go mine.
I hope we can go our separate ways.
Ain't no bad feeling.
And he can still keep his job at Apple.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Blahannes versus Williams. Step forward, please.
Gail Blahannes was best friends with Mr. and Mrs. Williams. In fact, she was Nanette's maid of honor. Now, they're at war because Fred didn't pay for Gail's late husband's tools.
Yeah, it's number 61 on the calendar in the matter of Blahannes versus Williams. You may be seated.
Mrs. Blahannes, according to your complaint, you and Miss Williams were good friends.
Yes.
Good friends. You were the bridesmaid at her wedding.
I was her maid of honor.
Your maid of honor.
Correct.
And she even lived with you for a while?
Yes, she did.
And then married. How long are you married?
A year and a couple of months.
This is your husband?
Yes.
And there came a time when you were selling some tools.
Correct. My husband passed away about 5 years ago, and he had a lot of tools in his possession, you know, at that time. And I had no use for these tools. So Nanette, I knew her before I ever knew Fred, and Fred had an interest in these tools. So because of my friendship with Nanette, I sold him the tools without getting the money up front.
So how much did you sell the tools for?
For $1,200. And I have been trying now for 2 years to get my money back from these tools that I sold to him.
Did he pay you anything for the tools?
Nothing. During that time that I wasn't getting money back for a few months, I made an agreement with him that I would take $100 off the tools if he would do some work for me that I needed done at my home. So he agreed to this, and
that wasn't the agreement. She's got it all backwards. First of all,
I'm going to let her tell her story.
Okay.
And then I'm going to allow you to tell yours.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Our agreement was that, you know, he would come and do 3 different projects that I had in my home. Well, the 2 doors that he put up, one of the doors doesn't fit right. It was never planed at the bottom. It's dragging on my carpet. It's going to end up ruining my carpet. The door that's in the garage is a side garage door. He installed that. Now, I did purchase the doors, but he did not bother to measure the doors or anything. I mean, what do I know? I mean, I measured the height and the width of,
what happened?
of the door.
So the doors doesn't
fit?
fit?
The doors were too wide for it, but he proceeded on putting the door holes for the handle, and he ended up drilling the wrong hinges on the wrong side of the door, so he had to, I mean...
Whatever. The door doesn't fit right, so you're
correct.
You were dissatisfied with the work he did.
Right. And I never did get the molding up in the hallway, and as far as the leaky tub goes, I ended up having to bring in a plumber to fix that because it never got fixed.
Judge Judy will be right back.
He's had the tools in his possession now for over 2 years.
That's not true, Gail. I've only had the tools
listen to me.
That's not true.
Is there something wrong with you?
Gail Blahanez was best friends with Mr. and Mrs. Williams. In fact, she was Nanette's maid of honor. Now, they're at war because Fred didn't pay for Gail's late husband's tools.
Why didn't you pay her for the tools?
Because at the time, I was supposed to get a bonus check from my company, and that fell through. So when that fell through, I agreed to give her back the tools.
Your Honor.
Okay? But...
What do you mean you agreed to... What do you mean you agreed to give her back the tools?
I gave her back the tools. Okay.
All of them?
No, all but 2. I kept 2 for the price of the work that I did on her home.
Which
whatever
2 tools did you keep?
I kept a table saw and a miter saw.
How much are those 2 items worth, sir?
The miter saw is worth about $100. And the table saw, which they do not make anymore, it's a very old tool, is worth less than $200.
Your Honor.
And that's why I kept those, because I thought it was fair payment for the labor I did in her home.
Of a table saw, what it would cost to replace a table saw,
listen
which
to me.
was basically the same type of table saw.
Come on.
Mrs. Blahanez,
I know my
pronounce
tools.
your last name for me.
Blahanez.
Mrs. Blahanez.
Yes.
Listen to me. Your husband died 5 years ago.
Correct.
So the tools were at least 5 years old, probably more like
Believe me, they
8
are
years
more
old, 10 years old. Is that
Yeah.
right?
That's correct.
So now the tools are 11 years old, right?
No. He's had the tools in his possession now for over 2 years.
That's not true,
so
Gail.
let-
I've only
so-
had the
well,
tools
listen to me.
for
That's not true.
a year and 2
You
months.
have had the tools
Mr.
since
Williams,
October of
Mr. Williams,
1994.
Mr. Williams.
No way,
Wait,
Gail.
There
We
you
gotta-
go. Your Honor.
Is there something wrong with you? Are you in a
She's
courtroom?
lying about that. That's
You're
bull.
in, Mr. Williams, you're in a courtroom, sir.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to have to shout over you. I have to preserve my voice. I have a lot of cases to do today.
Your Honor, the
Listen, the
plaintiff
problem,
gave us-
Mr. Williams, is as follows. These 2 women were very good friends. They are no longer very good friends because you didn't do the right thing.
I think I did the right thing.
No, you didn't. You bought the tools. You didn't pay her. You should have paid her. She is not a partner in your misfortune of your not getting a bonus check. The sad part about it is your wife, it's true, she was the maid of honor at your wedding. Mm-hmm. According to her complaint, you lived in her house for a long time. Is that right?
2 weeks.
With her ex-husband and her children.
Whatever. You were close enough so that she shared her home with you, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's all very unfortunate. That
I even introduced them, Your Honor.
it's all very unfortunate that you 2 gals aren't friends anymore over some ridiculous tools. Now, maybe they felt as if, under the circumstances of your friendship, you should just give him the tools because you weren't going to use them anymore and you were going to sell them to somebody else. But according to this complaint and your answer, you fixed the price on them. You know, she said, how much do you think you want us to give me for them? And you said...
$1,100.
$1,100, yes.
You said, let's say...
That's not true. I have a witness to that.
Just to say, well, there's a difference between $1,100 and $1,200. You're talking about $100. We're not talking about... So you fixed the price for them. And then you didn't give her any money.
Well, Your Honor, she also had stated that I could use the tools and pay her whenever. That was the agreement.
Because she was
your friend.
That's correct. And that's why I wanted to work in your home.
I didn't expect it to be for 2 years.
Because I was your friend.
Mr. Williams.
Not for 2 years.
Mr. Williams.
And then after I did the work, you pull this stuff.
You're irritating me.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're irritating me because you don't recognize the fact that you didn't do the right thing. You know, you were using these tools, and I have a sense that this woman wouldn't have cared if you said to her, all I can give you is $50 this month, but I know I owe you the money, so I'm going to give you $50 this month. Whatever else it was. You just decided that there were other things that were more important. How much do you estimate the tools that are currently in his possession are worth?
Your Honor, $998.98 without taxes.
That's if they were bought brand new.
That's right. To replace those tools.
To replace those tools.
Correct.
And you have no need for the tools anyway, because you don't use those tools.
It's beside the point, Your Honor.
I understand that, but the tools, even when you gave them to him, were at least 8 years old.
They were still in very good working condition.
The judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please. I'll be back into your right.
Judge Judy returns in a moment.
Parties on Bunch versus Olson. Step forward, please.
Marcus Bunch says he sold a soft top to Jennifer Olson. She says the car was a lemon, so she didn't pay. He wants his bucks.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is number 34 on the calendar in the matter of Bunch versus Olson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Bunch, you sold a car to the defendant, Miss Olson, for $3,000. According to your complaint, that was many months ago. She has not paid you one dime of the $3,000. So you're suing her for $3,500, $500, I guess, for aggravation. Did you know each other before you sold her this car?
Yes, Your Honor. I've known her for approximately 15 years. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We've gone to the same schools.
What kind of car was this?
I trusted her. She was my friend.
What kind of car was this?
This is a 1980 Volkswagen Cabriolet.
And tell me how this sale came about.
We're friends, and she came to me in need of a car. She knew that I was selling the car, and they asked if I was willing to take payments for the car. And I told her, well, I wasn't sure, but talk it over, and we'll come across a decision.
Who's they?
Her boyfriend and Jennifer.
Okay. And they took the car?
Yes, but not after they came over and looked at it, and then I went over her house the next couple days, and we discussed the payment plan.
Okay, what was the payment plan?
She agreed to pay $500 to $800 per month for the car.
So there wasn't a fixed amount, anywhere between $500 and $800?
Yes.
Did you write up a sale agreement?
Yes, we did.
Do you have that?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
It just states that she plans to pay me. Okay.
Okay, well, this says very clearly, I take possession of a 1980 VW Rabbit today and promise to pay a total of $3,000 to the owner, Marcus Bunch, that's you.
Yes.
The car is considered sold as is, and full payment is expected even in case of fire, theft, accident, etc. And you signed it.
Yes, without knowing a lot more than that.
Well, how old are you?
23.
You're supposed to know. So, you took possession of the car in June?
Mm-hmm.
Now let me hear why you didn't pay him.
I didn't pay him because the first week that I had the car, before, being that I thought he was a trusted friend, and I thought maybe I was going to get a good deal on the car. I did not know all the complications after I had signed the paperwork.
What complications?
The steering was very, very off. The brakes were terrible. In fact, I even knew they were low. I asked. Sean here to test them for me, and he did, and he crashed in our apartment. He did, however, pay for the brake master cylinder, but that was about it. And there was other complications with the car. It was, excuse me, illegally, it was not properly smogged up to date. And when asking about it, I was told that yes, it was up to date. And when I got stopped by an officer, I was just to explain that yes, it was up to date, and I would just get a fix-it ticket. Well, I was in fact stopped, and I had to pay a $77 fine. I had to, face a judge, and did pay it. And he did tell me that no, it was not up to date.
When was this?
On August 15th.
August 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So you were driving the car almost 2 months at that point.
No, it was at the end of June that I took over the car, and it was...
So you were driving the car for 6 weeks at that point. If you got a ticket in August, on August 15th, that means you were driving the car on August 15th.
Right.
So did you make a payment to him in July?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because I would try to return the car. I was trying to return the car. It was a very unsafe car, and I have a very small child that I
So then what were you
safety.
doing? So what were you doing driving the car?
Because I had asked several people to help me fix it, and everyone would say they would help me fix it.
Listen, Miss Olson, you can't have it both ways. You can't drive the car and then kvetch about it or complain about it. You have to, if you don't want the car, then you sue him. But what you're saying is you drove the car and you didn't pay him for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I read here, Miss Olson, that you spent 3 months trying to sell the car to somebody else. You wrote this.
To help out, because I couldn't afford to pay it
No.
myself.
What do you mean to help out? You were trying to unload this lemon on somebody else. That's what it says here.
Judge Judy will be right back.
If you found somebody in your 3-month quest to buy this car, would you have put as is when you sold it to them?
Marcus Bunch says he sold a soft top to Jennifer Olson. She says the car was a lemon, so she didn't pay. He wants his bucks.
You were trying to sell this car, too. When you're trying to sell this car to people, did you tell them about all the things that were wrong with it?
I did not, because I did... no.
And I did. I disclosed to her all of the problems with the car. I told her that the registration has been paid for, but the registration sticker was not sent to me because it needs a smog certificate, and the car cannot be legally smogged because it has a problem.
But when you buy a car, really, off the street, and this is what this is off the street from a private person, as a responsible person, you're supposed to take that car to a mechanic and have it inspected of your choice before you sign anything that says as is. Because if you signed it as is, that means you took it as you got it. And Miss Olson, there isn't a question in my mind that, having been made wise by this as is, if you found somebody in your 3-month quest to buy this car, would you have put as is when you sold it to them?
No, I would have told them the truth. Well, I guess you're right. I'm sorry, aren't I?
Right. You would have written, I'm selling this car as is, no backseas, bridges closed, right? All those things. So, now, where is this car now?
At my parking lot at my work.
Okay. Got to pay him for the car. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the original amount of the car, which is $3,000. Thank you. That's all.
As an excuse, you may step out. Out the back door to your right.
She was not honest. She lied.
And I did not lie in the courtroom, and I unfortunately feel that I shouldn't have to pay a penny for this car because it was a junk car.
It was new paint job, rebuilt engine.
It did not look like that when I received it.
Yes, it did.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Notaboom versus Zipfel. Step forward, please.
Christopher Notaboom says he was unjustly manhandled in a restaurant by bouncer Alex Spiegel while waiting for his girlfriend to return from the restroom. Now, he wants a grand apology.
Giannis, number 12 on the calendar in the matter of Notaboom versus Zipfel.
Bert, I have a feeling this is a loud group. Let's keep it quiet.
Sure will, Judge.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Notaboom, is that the way you pronounce your name?
Yeah, it is.
According to your complaint, you were out having a lovely dinner with your girlfriend,
We were.
and you at the defendant's restaurant.
Actually, no, not at the defendant's restaurant. We had just come from dinner. We were at the defendant's restaurant.
What were you doing there?
Coming by to see a friend of ours that was a bartender.
So you were just there for a drink or just there to visit?
We were going to have one, yeah.
And according to your complaint, you were manhandled by one of the defendant's employees, the doorman.
Yes.
You want an apology in the form of $1,000.
Well, first I just wanted an apology, but now it's gone farther than that.
Well, tell me about the evening.
Well, we just finished dinner. We were at their restaurant going through to the back bar, and Ginger said she had to use the restroom, so she went off to use the restroom. And within about another minute, a gentleman sitting here in a black t-shirt, black shirt, came up to me and said I couldn't stand there, I had to move. And I really didn't know who he was, didn't warn me or introduce himself. And
What exactly did he say to you?
Came up, said, you got to move, you can't stand here.
Did you say why?
I said I was waiting for her to come out of the restroom. I'd only be a minute. And he said he didn't care. You got to move or you're out of here. And I said, well, you better get your manager, your doorman. And at that point, he said he was a doorman as well. And at that point, Ginger was walking back out of the bathroom. I turned. He grabbed me by the arm as I was turning and started to push me out the door, towards the back door. Personally, I wanted to clock the guy because I felt it was unwarranted, but I didn't do it because I'm in the business as well. I own a couple of bars and restaurants. And I knew that it was a no-win situation.
Judge Judy will be right back.
All he had to do was step back. They would have been gone. Instead, he showed his muscle. He said, now you're going to move. That's not designed to keep the peace.
Christopher Nodaboom says he was unjustly manhandled in a restaurant by bouncer Alex Spiegel while waiting for his girlfriend to return from the restroom. Now, he wants a grand apology.
You are Mr. Zipfel.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you a witness to this incident?
No, I wasn't. I'm the general manager of the restaurant, and I have my employees here with me that were there, and I have a picture of the sign right there, the actual sign.
All right.
It says, hey, the fire marshal says do not stand in the aisle.
It doesn't look like a very serious sign, sir. You want to know why it doesn't look like a serious sign? Because there's misspelling in there.
That's,
you know, it doesn't look like a fire marshal sign.
It's not an actual fire marshal sign. It's just, you know, our concept has that kind of wordage on their menus and all that type of thing.
Just a suggestion to you, and I know it's gratuitous, but if you want somebody to take a sign seriously, you don't spell says, S-E-Z. If you want them to take it seriously, you make it look like a serious sign, like it's a joke. All right, let me hear from you up here. Your name, sir?
Alex Spiegel. Alex Spiegel.
Mr. Spiegel, you want to tell me you are the doorman or whatever?
I'm the doorman here, yeah.
Tell me about your recollection of the evening.
Okay, on the night, I was standing next to the stairs where the yellow stairs were, and when I turned around, this gentleman was standing in the aisle, and there was, like the manager said, the night was pretty slow, so there was nobody else standing there. So I asked him once if he could move.
Why?
Because, well, first, it is...
There's nobody else standing there.
Because the waiters have to get food from the kitchen to the tables, and they have big trays, and it's a law. It's a fire marshal said, you know, we'll be in trouble if fire marshal comes in and there are people in the aisle. So I turn around, I ask the gentleman if he should move, and he very rudely says, I'm not moving until you get the rest of these people to move. I look around and said, there's nobody else there. I said, sir, you got to move. He goes, I'm not moving until my...
So you looked around, and there wasn't anybody else standing there?
Not in the aisle, no, ma'am.
Well, were there a lot of other people around there?
Oh, of course, it was a restaurant, but...
How many other people were around there?
Upstairs, maybe 100, maybe.
And he was standing there all by himself in the aisle, according to you?
Yeah, basically. He was standing right under the sign, actually. He was standing right in the middle of the aisle, which is about 4 feet, and he was standing in the middle of it, just with his,
Wasn't doing anything wrong?
No, not at all.
Did he tell you he was waiting for his girlfriend?
So? And what happened? I gave him, I said, okay. I said, he answered twice rudely that he's not moving. I said, okay, then you have to leave because he's getting a little aggressive.
No, just a second. How was he getting aggressive?
Well, he was answering in, like, really foul language, I guess. You know, I don't want to say it, but he was answering that I ain't moving until you get the rest of these people to move. And I asked him again. He says, I ain't moving.
At which point did he tell you, sir, that his girlfriend was in the restroom and that's why he was standing there waiting?
After the second time. The second time I said, okay, now you have to leave. He said, I'm not leaving until my girlfriend comes out of the bathroom. I said, okay. So I was looking for a manager, and so I was waiting for his girlfriend to come back. And when I turned around, I noticed a lady was walking out of the bathroom, and she stood next to him, so I figured that was her. And so I said, now you got to go. He goes, I ain't going till I'm ready. So I said, no, you got to go now. So I put my hand on his back to start escorting him out the nearest exit, which was the back exit at the time.
And he says, if you don't get your hands off me, I'm going to swing at you. I took that as aggression, as him threatening me. So I put both hands on him because I don't...
You had already put one hand on him.
Yeah, to start escorting him towards the back door because he was not moving.
Doesn't sound very hospitable to me, sir. You went up and flexed your muscle and said, now you have to move, right?
Correct.
It's so good to be old. You get such a wealth of information. It has its drawbacks, too, Bert. Does that sound familiar to you? That scenario?
Familiar?
Yeah.
Broken.
Okay.
Somewhat.
Is this the first time you've heard all of this whole thing? His side and his side?
No.
You've heard it before?
Yes.
We talked on the phone.
Do you think that your employee overreacted to a situation?
No, I don't. Your Honor, we deal with the public. We deal with the public that's been drinking. We deal with the public in all different forms of different capacities. We are out, our door people are out to keep the public safe in our restaurant. When we feel that the public safety is in jeopardy, we ask that person to leave. Obviously, I have a lot of faith in my employee. He's been working for me for a long time, and he has not had any other problems with any other customer since he's been there. He felt that this was a safety violation and to the public safety.
You were sitting back there, so you couldn't see this gentleman's eyes as he was testifying. I saw his eyes. And he knows that the final thing that he said to this gentleman was designed to incite a problem rather than smooth it over. His girlfriend came up from the bathroom. All he had to do was step back, because if that's where he was standing, waiting for her to get back to the bathroom, all he had to do was step back. They would have been gone. Instead, he showed his muscle. He said, now you're going to move. That's not designed to keep the peace.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
So he called you up for an apology. It would have seemed to me to be nothing but good business, Mr. Zipfeld, to apologize to him, to say to him, I'm sorry, it happened, come in, have a drink with us. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, I told him I just wanted to sit down and talk about it. That was it.
That's
I
all
didn't
he
want
wanted.
anything out of it.
So tell me about what happened when you called him.
Well, it was a Monday morning, and I was at work at my restaurant, and he said he would get back to me latest by Tuesday, and he never did. And my friend that is a bartender there came in that week, and I said, hey, could you get a hold of your manager? I talked to him. He hasn't got back with me. He did get back with me about a week later and said he hadn't forgotten about anything, which was, I appreciated that. And he would get back to me, which never happened.
Well, did you tell him what you wanted?
Yeah, I told him I didn't want any compensation out of it. I said, at worst, I want to sit down with my girlfriend, him, the employee, and myself, sit down and talk about it, and then take action from there.
What kind of action were you contemplating?
Disciplinary. That's, you know, look over what happened and then deal with it as you see it.
What kind of disciplinary action, Mr. Noteboom?
Well, I felt humiliated out of this whole thing. As I was being escorted out, you had all these people hooting and hollering. It was wrong. It's totally wrong.
You mean the people around the bar area?
Yeah.
What were they doing?
Oh, people in the restaurant area. Well, they saw somebody getting kicked out, so they thought it was funny, and everybody was making a big deal about it, just hooting and hollering.
Restraint, sir. If you're in a position of authority in a place, you're supposed to exercise utmost restraint.
If I may say something, though.
Absolutely. Step up here.
I just think that...
You can stay, Mr. Zipfeld.
I just think that is being... I asked him twice politely to move, and I did not... I mean, he said his girlfriend was coming. I said, that's right. He did not have to stay in the aisle. He had about, he had a lot of room besides him to just move over. That's all he had to do. All he had to do was step 1 foot over.
Your authority was being threatened, not the safety of the business.
It was not my authority. It was what I had to do. That's what I'm employed. I'm employed to ask people to step out of the aisle.
Your authority, when he didn't move, was threatened, not the safety of the people in the restaurant.
I'm not saying the safety, but the problem is, if I ask this gentleman to move, and he doesn't move, and everybody just starts standing there, nobody's going to listen to me. And
I'm not worried about anybody.
I understand that.
Look at him.
But
look at her. I mean, they weren't breaking up the joint. They weren't throwing beer bottles around. They weren't, putting gum on the floor. They weren't smoking pipes and cigars. I mean, they came in there. She went to the bathroom. You just should have waited 2 minutes.
I did
2
wait.
minutes.
I waited for her to come back.
And then you had to say something else.
If he's
Do you
not
understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do. But
Right.
if he would have moved over, the whole situation would have been done. All you had to do was take one step over.
Know. If I were 5'7", I would have been a gorgeous penthouse model. But I'm not. And he didn't. And you should have exercised restraint. Now, Mr. Noterboom, it appears to me today, sir, that you are not going to get an apology from these people. And I think that they should in some way compensate you. Because I think they were wrong. I think that that's what you want. You want an apology in the form of something, right? So how much was this humiliation worth to you, sir?
Well, I tell you what, how about $1,000 to my charity that I choose?
Which one?
How about we'll find a cancer research?
Done.
We'll do that.
Done. $1,000 for the plaintiff to charity. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy returns. Dale Brown says his sister Rita Taylor has been jealous for 15 years and accused him of sexual assault, sex crimes, animal torture, and murder. She says he's delusional.
Order. All rise. Order. All rise, please.
Judge, this is number 81 on the calendar in the matter of Bowen versus Taylor Sponseller.
Thank you very much. Have a seat, everybody. Mr. Bowen, this is your sister.
Yes.
Right? You say that for 25 years she's been jealous of you, and as a result of that jealousy, your sister has accused you of everything from rape to tax evasion to killing animals and all other...
Including murder.
Including murder. And what you're suing her for today is because she taped a telephone conversation that you two had together.
That's correct.
And as a result of that taped phone conversation, she got a restraining order against you. So you're suing her for invasion of your privacy.
That's correct.
Well, it's interesting. You say that your brother is delusional, that he's threatening, that you agree that you taped this conversation, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And you did it for your own safety
For
and
my
protection.
right.
How many brothers and sisters do you have? When did you start having trouble with this sister?
I would say the worst of it began about 15 years ago.
Why?
Well, at the time she was married to another man, and he was a house painter, not making a lot of money. I had a business at the time, and my sister approached me and wanted me to, shall we say, in effect, train them in the business, so I agreed to do so.
That's not true.
Okay. So what I did is I subrented them square footage in one of my
15 years to almost today.
Yes, and then...
Quickly.
Okay. So she started telling my ex-wife that when we were down in L.A. making deliveries, her husband and I, that were visiting prostitutes.
That's an absolute lie.
You mean it was a lie that they were visiting prostitutes, or it was a lie that you told his ex-wife
I
about
never
it?
said that. I was married a year at the time, and I never said any... I don't know even where he gets that. That's part of his delusion.
She admitted this at the time.
I did not.
And
I never did.
Her husband and I decided that
Your
we
crazy
needed to
ex-wife
separate
said it.
the two wives. I wrote her a letter at the time and told her that if she did not cease and desist with this practice, that I would reveal to her husband her prostitutional past. And this is really what has triggered what has been nothing less than a wild nightmare of vengefulness on her part. And
Well, the problem is you're complaining that she taped a telephone conversation, and I suppose then that what I have to do is listen to this telephone conversation, because if, in fact, you would agree, sir, that if you made any kinds of threats on the telephone, that she is entitled by law to tape that conversation. You would agree with that?
not to my knowledge.
Oh, but you are mistaken. Okay. If, in fact, in a telephone conversation you threaten to kill somebody, maim somebody, assault somebody, threaten to extort money from them, and if they tape that conversation to use in a later prosecution, which I assume that you did, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then that is not an invasion of your privacy. Okay. So I guess what I have to do is hear this tape. Do you have it with you?
May I also add, before you hear the tape, that he sent a letter to my place of business asking for $500 for his, quote, troubles. If I didn't give him this $500, that he was going to go to find all of my new relatives, because I just got married in February. He was going to find all my new relatives and all my neighbors and all of my husband's.
Is that the
It
letter
does not
that you
say
wrote?
that.
Yes, it does.
Is that the letter you wrote,
Yes.
sir?
The places
I
that are
assume it is.
highlighted.
Let me just take a look at it
And-
briefly.
And he was going to
And-
go to my husband's coworkers and tell them this story about me being a prostitute and having an incurable sexual disease, which how he knows about my sex
Life, sir. She hasn't spoken to you really in 15 years.
That's not true. She has spoken to me in 15 years, many, many times.
So you mean you have a sort of off again? Well, it does say that right here, sir.
No, I said
It
if
says,
she
have you
does...
told them you're loaded with a sexually transmitted,
Yes.
incurable disease?
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a veiled threat to me. But you keep them quiet. If they can't be quiet, put them out. Before I hear this tape, why did you make this call to her in the first place?
Well, we had had a conversation on my boat several months before that, okay? And one of the things that I asked her in the conversation was whether or not she'd been tested for HIV,
That's a lie.
okay?
Why would you ask her that question?
Really?
But she's been quite candid about her prostitutional past. She was caught a sexually transmitted disease.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Are you insane?
Just a minute. If you haven't gotten along, if you didn't get along with her for 15 years, why would you ask her these
Get a
questions?
grip.
Well, we had a 3-hour conversation, and that was one of the things we covered.
So then a couple of months later, you called her and said what, sir?
Well, I asked her to begin with whether she had been tested for HIV.
And she-
Her answers were evasive.
He
Her
has
answer- so
never
just a
asked
second.
me that.
So what is that your business if her answers were
Really?
evasive?
Well,
I
maybe
could
it
be on
isn't.
my deathbed. It's none of
So
your
then,
business.
what was the purpose of the phone call months later?
Well, I told her that I'd been tested, or I'd just taken a test. I hadn't gotten the results. I suspected.
Tape now.
Okay.
The tape is about his HIV.
And what I told her was that I'd recently had a test for HIV. There wasn't any results back yet.
That's not what you said.
Let me hear this,
You
madam.
better check
Let me
your
hear-
own tape.
Let me hear this, madam.
Okay. And if
Eye-opening.
mine was positive, then possibly neither of us would have a very long time to live.
Can I hear the tape, please?
That's certainly not what it
Can I
said.
hear the tape, please?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
To call her and make that kind of a threat, which you made at the upfront part of that tape, is unacceptable. You wanted to stop writing poetry that has veiled references to you because you are her brother and she writes about her brother in not too endearing terms, I assume. Is that correct?
No, actually, they.
Dale Brown says his sister Rita Taylor has been jealous for 15 years and accused him of sexual assault, sex crimes, animal torture, and murder. She says he's delusional.
Go ahead. What's this business about poetry that I hear here? Is he complaining? Let me try to put on my Karnak hat. All right? Is he complaining because he's saying that in a veiled way you're talking about him and your poetry?
It's not veiled.
veiled or not. Is that what he's
Yes.
complaining about all
Yes.
these years? That you're writing about all kinds of things that are negative, that don't necessarily mention his name, but
Right.
that he interprets as having reference to him. Correct? Oh,
She
my smart.
references to her brother, making it perfectly clear who
Just
she's
a second.
referencing to.
Poetry isn't nonfiction, sir. You know, poetry usually comes out of someone's imagination.
In my life.
And so what you're complaining about is that she's talking about bad things that happened to her in the past, talking about her brother.
Slander.
Well, then, sir, if you feel that way, you can, if you wish, do something about it
I realize
legally.
that. Yes, I realize that.
But to call her and make that kind of a threat, which you made at the upfront part of that tape, is unacceptable. You wanted to stop writing poetry that has veiled references to you because you are her brother and she writes about her brother in not too endearing terms, I assume. Is that correct?
No, actually, they are, in a way, love poems.
Well, in a way, he doesn't consider them love poems.
But he doesn't read poetry.
We're getting far away from this
Very
case.
much.
Bottom line is, you threatened her on this tape. I can see how she interpreted your
scared to
statement that
death of
she's
this
not going to
man.
be, you're not going to be the only one that goes if your AIDS test comes back positive
Not at
as
all
being
what I
a veiled threat.
May I-
You say no, I say yes, and
Okay.
since I'm the judge, my judgment is the only one that counts. So, your suit, sir, quiet. Your suit, sir, for violation of your privacy is dismissed. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye. Go your separate ways.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
And now, the next case.
All parties on Gearings versus Weeks, step up, please.
Alma Gearing says her nephew, the Reverend Hersley Weeks, asked her for money to start a bus business that went bust. She wants it back.
Miss Gehring,
Yes,
the defendant, Mr. Weeks, is your nephew. Is that right?
that's correct.
And you say in your complaint, which I have read, that he approached you several years ago saying that he wanted to go into a business and he needed some money.
That's correct, Your Honor.
How much money did he need?
He first asked for 10, but we didn't have the 10. We agreed to loan him 5,000
And that was for what kind of business?
for a tour bus. He was to purchase a tour bus. You know, I just had no reason to doubt his word. He's a minister. I know that he drives the bus, so I had no reason to doubt that he would pay us back.
Did you sign a piece of paper? A loan agreement?
No, I did not. And I guess evidently that was a mistake on my part.
You borrowed this money from your aunt. Was it a loan?
Your Honor, excuse me. At my sister's table, at his aunt's table, I did sign this paper that he have, but I said to him then, and so did my husband, we are not concerned about this paper, Chi-Chi, that's what we call him, his nickname. We are not concerned about this. We are loaning you the $5,000.
We made it as an investment. Although she gave me the money, it was an investment.
Well, let me read this, sir.
I don't know how you can stand here and say that, Chi-Chi.
Well, I got it.
You know what the agreement was.
I have
You
a
know
written
exactly.
agreement of what it
You know what it was.
It was an investment.
I can't read this and listen to you at the same time.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You invested her $5,000. You took no risk. You own 15% of the business.
No.
It doesn't say that she owns any part of your 15% of the business, so you invested nothing. You took almost half of their income, and they haven't gotten a thing, not even the 10% once. Don't you believe that you have any responsibility at all to your aunt?
Alma Gearing says her nephew, the Reverend Hersley Weeks, asked her for money to start a bus business that went bust. She wants it back.
Who prepared this paper?
My partner and I at the time.
You had a partner?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, your partner didn't sign this.
No.
Just a second. Your partner didn't sign this.
I signed it because one of the reasons why he didn't sign it because it was between her and I.
He's cunning and a liar.
Just
and
a
you're
second.
going to find that out.
Well, if you had a partner, you had a partnership agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your...
I believe this would be it right here.
I'd like to take a look at that.
And And I don't see the necessity of me having to lie to nobody.
You Honor, just a second. You were a minor partner in this, is that right?
I was what you would consider as an implied partner.
It says that that the company of 100%, somebody by the name of owns 85% of the company. Was the controlling person in this company. And in order for this, sir, to be a valid investment agreement in your business, since Mr. was the primary shareholder, he owns 85% of the company according to this, you can't make an investment agreement without his signature. You can't do that. And if she's investing in a business, she has to have a percentage of the business. Is that right?
I think it states what she would get a percentage of that business on that agreement.
No, it says she will get an interest. Interest on your investment.
We haven't paid her. We haven't paid her nothing because it was a failing business.
How much did you invest cash in the business, sir?
The $5,000.
So you invested her $5,000. You took no risk. You own 15% of the business.
No.
It doesn't say that she owns any part of your 15% of the business. So you invested nothing. You took almost half of their income, half of their savings, and they haven't gotten a thing, not even the 10% once. Don't you feel as if you have a moral responsibility?
I feel that I have a moral responsibility, but I also feel that the business did not fail on my behalf. The business failed on my partner's behalf. Had not my partner lied to me, the business would not have failed. I got proof of how I tried to keep that business going. I'm the one who kept that bus running. I'm the one who booked the tours. I'm the one who did the maintenance on that bus. That man lied to me. I'm the one who got on his back behind and told him he did not want...
It was a loan. It was a loan,
Just listen to me.
It was a loan.
Listen to me. I want you to be quiet.
I come in, I made sure that the payments were, and I would tell him, Ivan, we've got to make sure that the investors are paid at the end of the month.
How many investors were there, sir?
It was two, to my knowledge. My auntie and another lady. It was a lady that was, I think, related to him. Yeah, related to him.
You have the paperwork on that investment?
I don't have the paperwork on her.
He owed her too.
See, I don't have the paperwork on her. That was an agreement that he made with them.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
Listen to me. You should have gotten a lawyer, sir. I'm going to tell you why. You made an agreement with her to invest in a business, but you didn't have the primary shareholder of that business sign that agreement. You signed the agreement. You only own 15% of the business. In addition to that, the only person between you two people who were out any cash money was her. Only person. You weren't out any cash. You may have done a lot of work. But this was a business that you thought was going to make you a lot of money. Your agreement with her doesn't even talk about the repayment of a principal of the $5,000. It talks in terms only of interest of 10% that's to be paid on her money. An agreement with regard to an investment usually talks in terms of the recoupment or the payback of the principal at some point. Never lend a relative money that you're not prepared to lose. Right?
Yes,
the
I've
problem,
learned that lesson, Your Honor.
He says, and he told the truth, and he said, you did say to him that this is a loan.
Adams, step forward, please.
Mary Ann Hardman moved with her 5 kids into Diana Adams' house. They met at the PTA, but ended up bitter enemies over kids and drugs.
Order, all rise. Judge, number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Hardman versus Adams. Seated.
Sit down. Sit down, please. You two ladies met at the PTA. You have 5 children?
Yes.
And you have 3.
Correct.
I've read your complaint and answer. They're like short novels, so I'm going to try to put this case into context if I can. If I make a mistake, I'm sure you'll hop right in and tell me. You moved in with your 5 kids to the defendant's house.
Yes.
And you were in the process of getting a divorce at the time, correct? You had some sort of an arrangement where you would give her $150 rent, according to your papers, and pay some of the food and do chores around the house in exchange for living there.
Yes.
So far, correct? And after a month or so, things didn't go well. You say that the defendant here was spending all of her money, which was substantial, you know, she had a nice income, on drugs.
Yes.
And then you had a private conversation with a mutual friend, and told her about this drug problem. And the mutual friend went back and told her, right?
Yes.
And then she found out about it, and she threw you out of the house with your kids. And when you left some of your property behind.
Yes.
And that's what you're suing for. Property that you say is worth $340.
Right.
Now I've read your answer. And your answer accuses her of using illegal prescription drugs, drugs that weren't prescribed for her. And say you finally told her to leave the house. She left the house, and there was some damage that was caused by herself and her kids. But more importantly, you are offended, according to your answer, because while you were in the throes of this divorce that was taking place in Louisiana, there was a custody battle in Louisiana.
That divorce was already finished, but it was a custody battle.
It was a custody battle in Louisiana with your ex-husband?
Yes.
He was suing for custody of the children. She flew to Louisiana to testify against you in the custody case.
Correct.
And that made you really angry.
She didn't have any reason to do that.
So you say, well, I wouldn't have bothered with all the things she owed me. She owed me some money for phone bills and some rent and other things, and her kids damaged some things when they were in the house, and you would be willing to forget all of that, but as long as you're here, you're countersuing for $5,000.
If she wants to play, then we can play.
What happened with this drug problem that down the road precipitated you going to Louisiana and testifying against her?
Oh, no, it's the behavior that I saw from her in probably the last 3 weeks that I felt that I was justified in doing that.
Called anger.
Well, tell me about it.
Okay, she has been taking a prescription Darvocet for quite a while now. And I could tell you within half a day when she was out and when she wasn't. And her mood changed completely.
So it was Darvocet that she was taking.
And then I found her smoking the marijuana. And it made me angry. And I'm like,
you know, marijuana you got from your sister's boyfriend?
I don't want this around my kids. You know, not even your kids. You know,
How did
this
you find
is
out
crap.
you were smoking marijuana?
I walked in the bedroom and she was doing it.
Listen, do you remember that?
Not exactly that way, Your Honor.
But close. But close.
As far as marijuana being in the household?
Yes.
Absolutely, because she kept supplying it.
So are you saying you were both using marijuana?
No.
No.
Who was using it?
She was.
Why did you ask her to leave the house?
Well, I had gone away for a PTA convention. While I was gone, that's when this tape was made, I called to check on my children. She had gone off and left my kids alone for 2 hours in the house. My
How old are your children?
6. My son is 6. My daughters are 8.5. And now my other one is 10. She was 9 at the time. My daughter's front tooth was chipped by her son in the pool. I said I didn't want anybody in the pool. She basically told me to go to you-know-where, and they were in the pool anyway. As far as her tape and the scoring, my son works offshore. And Christy, the gal on the tape, is my daughter-in-law. At the time, they were engaged and living in my home.
Do you have your children with you?
I beg your pardon?
Your children are with you. This custody suit is
yeah, I'm a
still
custodial
ongoing.
parent and have been for 6 years.
What property do you say you left behind?
A leather jacket, a camera, and a case of oil.
Why did you leave that behind?
Because the way it came down, I had about 2 hours to get out. And I was packing up my children's things and mine too.
When did you ask for these things for the first time?
About 2 days later, and she would refuse to talk to me. Period.
Do you have those things?
No, I don't have anything. I made at least 8 or 9 separate trips over to her home with my son. I sent my son over with things that belonged to her children.
Did she do that?
Yes, she did.
Her mother called me drunk all the time.
So she brought over a lot of things to you.
She brought over my children's things. She never brought mine.
Anything I found of hers was given back to her house. Her mother stopped by my home one morning, said,
a
"How are
lie.
you doing?"
Why would she keep a case?
so full
That
of
is
it?
a
Why would she
lie.
keep a case of oil?
Yeah.
Because she had her engine redone. Her husband did it for her. He gave her $400, told her to go have it redone.
$299.
They used that to put in as the new stuff when it was redone. Because it was in the back of her car, because we went in her car to buy it at the price
We
club.
went in my car everywhere. Your car's a piece of crud.
Judge Judy will be right back.
When 5 little kids come into your house, things are going to get broken. You bought into it by inviting her with her 5 kids into your house.
Mary Ann Hardman moved with her 5 kids into Diana Adams' house. They met at the PTA, but ended up bitter enemies over kids and drugs.
Ladies, you don't like each other.
You're right.
I understand that. I understand that. You moved into her house. Doesn't seem to me as if you're battling over a lot.
I'm not. I just want my things. That's
well,
all.
she doesn't have your things. She said everything that was in the house she took. You know,
She's lying.
I'm not so sure that she's lying.
I don't have my jacket, and I have a letter proving that I had a jacket. The person that bought it for me wrote a letter saying that, yes, he did.
Oh, I suppose that's your drug supplier doctor friend, right?
Listen to me. Miss Adams, you're being rude. Talk to me. You want to talk to her, you can talk to her outside. You want to talk to me so that I can get the evidence that I need, then you have to talk to me.
Your Honor, I have a list of expenses that well exceeds $5,000 that this woman occurred in my home.
Yeah.
Her so-called witness was in my home 2 separate occasions.
I'm only at this.
She was never even there.
What we're really talking about is a leather jacket.
Which is absurd.
All right. Well, I mean, we're talking about a leather jacket that you say you don't have.
And I countersued her.
Try not to interrupt me. It's a very bad thing. Let me tell you, one of the real perks of my job, right? We don't make a lot of money, but one of the real perks of my job is that when I talk, nobody else talks. Your countersuit is based out of anger at being brought into court, and also what she did in Louisiana.
I have receipts.
I see that you have receipts, and I looked at some of the damage that you say, yeah, you have a chipped front tooth on one of your kids because she was supposed to be watching the kids. I'm not going to deal with that.
Thank you.
You have a window screen that was broken. You know, I mean, you invited someone into your home who had 5 children.
Correct.
I mean, you know, you had 3 young children yourself.
This is true.
And this is your adult son.
That's right.
Right? So you know, children create problems.
This is true, and that would have been fine. I just felt sorry for her children.
Fine, but you have to expect that. When 5 little kids come into your house, things are going to get broken. Things are going to get stained. So I'm not entertaining this countersuit. You bought into it by inviting her with her 5 kids into your house. Listen, ladies, let me tell you something. It's really too bad that the mother of at least 8 small children, mothers of 8 small children, seem to me to be acting marginally irresponsible at best. I don't think that you should invite somebody with 5 children into your home. You have 3 children of your own. It's enough to take care of. When you have 8 little children in your house, it's almost like running a school.
Yes.
And certainly this was not done for the money, because $150 a month rent certainly doesn't balance out with 5 little kids running around the house.
No, it was
That
never
aren't
for the
yours.
money.
All right. So it's not about the money. It's not about the damage that the children caused. It's not about the chipped front tooth. You want to go your separate ways? Want to have nothing to do with each other anymore? Is that right?
I moved 100 miles away.
That sounds like a very good idea.
Yes.
This suit and the countersuit are dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Greca versus Taplin. Step forward, please.
Piano player Bill Greca says he was attacked by another piano player, Saul Taplin. Now, Mr. Greca is suing to a tune of $5,000.
Judge, it's number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Greca versus Taplin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Mr. Greca?
Yes.
You allege in your complaint that the defendant assaulted you while you were playing piano at the Senior Citizen Center.
Correct.
How old are you, sir?
78.
And you, sir?
82.
So tell me, where is the Senior Citizen Center?
It's called the Wilkinson Multipurpose Senior Center. It's in the city of Northridge. And that particular day, I sat down to play the piano. All the activities were finished. They had a band that day. When they left the auditorium, I sat down and played the piano. And I had 8 seniors around the piano. And we started playing, and they were sang the aria from the Traviata, a little solo mio, a lot of romantic Italian songs. I have Mr. Bennis here, one of the singers, a witness, and also Rosalind Anton, another witness. There were 8 seniors while this was happening. While I was playing the piano, the defendant approached me and told me to stop playing the piano. So I asked him, why? You're taking my customers away.
Is that what he said to you?
Exactly, exactly. And at that time, I didn't know what customers were, but I assumed that if you're a customer, he's getting paid. So I asked the seniors, I said, why don't you go with Sal and go to a sing-along? Now, I have a map for where I'm playing. It's about the length of a football field for where he's conducting the sing-along. Plus, there are 2 double soundproof doors. And he's on the tail end of the building in another little room. And I have a diagram. So since nobody left, I continued playing the piano, and they continued singing. So he comes storming, one of my witnesses will tell you, comes storming, comes over by the piano while I'm playing, he grabs both my wrists, and he's telling me, I told you to stop playing the piano, and I'm getting shook up. Miss Anton was trying to get him off of me. He wouldn't let go. I might have got excited, and I might have known what I said, but 6 days earlier that, I had an angioplasty procedure done. I have a heart case. I've had 3 heart attacks, and I don't need that.
Judge Judy will be right back.
Were you injured, Mr. Greca?
I'm wearing a back brace right now.
As a result of this?
Definitely.
Piano player Bill Greca says he was attacked by another piano player, Saul Taplin. Now, Mr. Greca is suing to a tune of $5,000.
Well, show me what he was doing, sir. In just a second.
Okay.
Could you go over, Officer Bird? Could you go over? Could you go over?
Make believe you're playing the piano. Put your hands on the keyboard. Now, this is the second time when he came and he grabbed me this way, and he says, what did I tell you? Stop playing the piano. And he's shaking me up and down. And he won't let go.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I just got through an angioplasty with the 3. I didn't need that. And I don't know why he did it. I'm not a threat to him. I don't charge. I volunteer my service at Veterans Hospital, too. So,
were you injured, Mr. Greca?
Definitely.
How were you injured, sir?
I'm wearing a back brace right now.
As a result of this?
Yes.
As a result of this?
Now, here are some information, the therapy, the doctor's report, and it's affecting my right sacroiliac. But there may be 2 discs involved.
Mr. Tarplin.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me what happened, sir?
At the time that this thing happened, I was in the sing-along room, and my friend Elaine came to tell me that there was a fellow playing the piano and getting the attention of a lot of people whom I expected to come into the sing-along.
You don't get paid for this?
No, this
you
is
just
all volunteer.
Okay.
At one time, the center is always in need of money. So they came to me one time and asked me to ask the people who come into the sing-along for a donation. They don't have to, but whatever they can give is fine.
Okay, it's voluntary.
When she told me, or somebody told me, that this man was playing the piano down here, and he was attracting a crowd of people, I needed those people to come into the sing-along so that I could ask them for donations, you know. It's not customers. They're not customers of mine.
No, you wanted them to come to your room to do the sing-along.
I asked him very nicely, will you please stop playing the piano? I need these people to come into the sing-along. paid no attention to me. Second time I asked him, would you please stop playing the piano so that these people come into the sing-along? Paid no attention to me. I went back, and I thought maybe some of the people would follow me back, but they didn't. So I came back a third time. As I was talking to him, he must have made some kind of a motion which prompted me to put my hands on his wrist. I didn't attack this man. I just laid my hands on his wrist to stop him from playing. As I did that, he says to me, you better take your hands off, or otherwise I'll put my hand in my pocket and you'll be a dead man. At that time, I said, uh-oh, I better go call the police, which I did. and went up to the office, and they called the Recreation Park Rangers. They came and took my story, and I guess the LAPD came and took his story.
Both of you were there?
Yes.
Would you step up, please? Both of you. Tell me your name, sir.
Janko Benush.
And your name?
Rosalind Anton.
Would you like to tell me first what you saw?
Well, I saw it. I'll make it short. And he did come down the aisle, storming through the doors and angry, and grabbed Bill's hands. And
what did he do?
I saw that happening. I grabbed for his hands to try to free him from. I said, get your hands off of him. And I couldn't free him. So 3 men had to free him.
And what did you see?
Same story.
Same story.
Same story.
Men, a few words. Thank you. All right, now let me take a look at this. Were all your medical bills covered, sir?
Well, I have an HMO, Your Honor, so I went twice, I paid a co-payment of $3. The back brace was given to me by Dr. Solomon, and I went to therapy, and then I had x-ray taken. And in fact, I went back the second time, if my memory serves me well, and I'm still wearing the back brace.
That's a year later?
Yes, it's affected my, my second and third disc between the vertebrae and my sacroiliac.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Taplin,
Yes.
you got excited, sir.
I was a little excited.
And you did the wrong thing. And based upon these medical reports that I had, the plaintiff did suffer injury as a result of you violently shaking him by the hands.
It was not violent, Your Honor.
Oh, I think it was. I have witnesses that I credit that it took 3 people to get you to let go of him. I believe that. You know, you were excited. You should, at your age, know that you have to control your temper. There was no reason to put your hands on this gentleman. So he is suing for $5,000. He says that he suffered injury. He's still wearing a back brace. So you had no right to put your hands on him. You did put your hands on him. He was injured, and he was injured substantially if he's still incapacitated as a result of wearing his back brace, which is supported by this. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now back towards your right. Step forward, please.
Archie Scott says he bought his son, Andre, a computer on condition he paid him back. His son says it was a gift because his father was on a guilt trip.
Order. All rise. Judges number 24 on the calendar in the matter of Scott versus Scott. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Senior.
Yes.
You claim in your papers that you lent your son, who was the defendant, money to buy a computer, $3,100.
Yes.
And that he made some payments on the computer, then he stopped.
Yes.
Hasn't made any more payments. How
No.
much does he owe you?
Well, I'm going for the whole amount, Your Honor.
Well, you're not going to get paid twice, sir.
Well, this is what it is, $3,163.75. I did not loan him the money. I put it on a credit card on the assumption that he was going to pay monthly payments.
All right, now let's go back. Did you go shopping with him for this computer?
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
20.
Tell me how it came about.
He came to me and Ruth.
Who's Ruth? Who are you?
I'm Ruth, the witness.
Do you live together?
Yes.
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And asked me if I would buy him a computer. So we didn't make a decision that day. We went and kicked it around a little bit. And
who kicked it around?
Ruth and I. So I had purchased him a phone prior to this, 2 years. And he kept that phone bill in good order. I never had any problem. So we talked it over and decided to get him a computer.
Well, he came to you and said, would you get me a computer?
Yes. And he says, I will pay you every month until I get a settlement from an accident that I had.
I see. Does that sound familiar to you? Sir?
Not all the way.
So go ahead, Mr. Scott.
So anyway, Ruth and I discussed it, and because he had been real good with the phone bill, we decided to go ahead and get the computer. So we went and got the computer.
Now, who went to the store? Who actually went to the store?
Andre and I. He and I went to the store, and we bought a computer. This is what it came to.
Okay. So you bought the computer.
And he made some payment. All right. Then 2 weeks later, after the computer, I get this $943 phone bill on a cellular phone. And I had to pay that right now because it was a consolidated collection agency.
You mean that's the phone that you thought that he had been so good about paying?
Yeah.
Let me see that. Is this your cellular phone bill, sir?
Yeah.
Why didn't you pay it?
Why didn't I pay it?
Yeah. Why didn't you pay the phone bill, your phone bill?
Oh, that's under his name.
But he doesn't have the phone. You have the phone. Right?
No, at the time I did have the phone.
At this time, when this bill was accrued, you had the phone.
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you pay it?
It got over amount and I couldn't pay it.
Over an amount, $943. That's a lot of phone calls. They must have notified you before that they were going to put this matter in collection.
No, they didn't notify me.
They didn't send you letters? Where is the money for last month, the month before, the month before? What did you do with the bills? Throw them in the garbage when you got them?
It's not my name. I wouldn't know exactly everything.
The bills didn't come to me.
No, the bills came to you.
I don't know about that.
Well, what do you know about?
Well, all I know is I used the phone up to about $400 and something on the bill. They sent me for a bill higher, and I said I'm not going to pay it. You charged me too much for the phone bill, so they cut me off and they sent it to a collection agency.
Did you tell your father about that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Now, so you went and bought the computer. You took the computer home. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you made some payments on it. Your father...
Okay, would you like to hear my story?
Yeah.
Okay. I had always told my father I was going to buy a computer. Okay, so what happened was one day we were together, and I told him that I'm going to buy a computer when I get my car settlement.
What kind of car settlement?
It's an accident. He told me that, you know, now I'm able to do things for you and this and that. He goes, maybe I'm going to think about it. And it had nothing to do with her. We didn't even talk about that with her. He says, well, maybe I'm going to buy you a computer. So we talked about it, and he said, well, let's go look at it. So when we went and looked at it, I'm not for sure if we bought it the same day the first time. We looked at computers, and then maybe another day we went back, and he said, well, we're going to buy a computer. And when we bought the computer at the place, we bought the computer, and he said, well...
What was the date that you bought the computer?
Well, I got the receipt.
It's on there.
12/8/95.
Okay.
Okay. After he bought me the computer and he told me, he said, well, you're going to pay me back when you get your car settlement. And I told him, and at first I thought he was going to buy it for me as a gift. So after he bought it, and we talked about it, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and pay it. I mean, I'm already getting the computer why go into saying, well, I don't want the computer now. I'm already getting the computer. I'll go ahead and pay for it. I'll do whatever I can. So money got bad, and I couldn't pay any more money.
So you told him that you would pay him back for the computer?
Yeah, I did after he bought it for me.
When you had the discussion about the car settlement and paying him back, where was the computer? Was it in your car? Was it in the store being wrapped up? Where was it?
Well, at the time he talked about paying, it was at the store.
So it was still at the store when you discussed paying him back for the computer?
No, we discussed that he was going to buy me a computer.
I'm talking about when you discussed paying back. It was
the
still
store.
at the store.
Well, we were at the store.
So you were...
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
According to your own statement to me, you're in the computer store, and he says to you, you know you're going to pay me back for this, and you said yes when I get my settlement from my car accident. So then when you decided to stop paying him, you said, well, he really wasn't around when I was younger. You really didn't pay child support. He owes me this computer.
Archie Scott says he bought his son, Andre, a computer on condition he paid him back. His son says it was a gift because his father was on a guilt trip.
So you agreed to pay him back for the computer?
Yeah, I don't want to argue with him.
So why didn't you?
Well, I couldn't afford to pay him any more money for a while. This is basically what happened. I had been talking about buying a computer, and at first he's like, well, we'll see what we can do. He was thinking about buying me a computer. And then it went all the way up to when we got to the store. Then he wanted me to pay for it. Now, the whole thing is, I thought I was going to get a gift at first. But I told him, yeah, I'm going to pay you. I'll go ahead and pay you. When he said, I want you to pay it, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and pay it.
Mr. Scott, let me tell you this. Quite frankly, I'm always surprised when I see a case of a parent suing a child under any circumstances. And I'm surprised because usually families don't air their laundry in a lawsuit.
True.
So let me see if I can see what happened.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
I bought this on a credit card. I'm on a fixed income.
No, I understand.
I would not buy a computer for anybody under any circumstances and pay the minimum payment on it for the rest of my life.
Mr. Scott, what I started to say to you, sir, is I assume that what brought you to court, rather than trying to resolve this with your son, is the fact that the reason you decided to lend him the money was because he had maintained such good credit with the phone.
Right.
And then, as soon as you bought the computer, you got this bill for $943 from collection.
Yes.
It was already in collection that negatively affects your credit. So then you got really angry.
Right.
And then you get some of this ridiculous answer that you got. Well, they charged me too much money for using the phone. Sounds like one of my kids when they were 12. Go ahead.
Okay,
You want to say something else while I'm adding?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Okay, the reason why he was thinking about buying me a computer, first of all, he wasn't around much when I was younger. Okay, he never paid child support. So even like you said, I'm going to try to do something for you now that I can. Because he does work too, besides getting Social Security, and he has money. It's not like he's broke. He never did much for me when I was younger, so it's not like he's some poor old man or anything like that.
I read what you put in your answer. You try to bring up the history of you and your father and say that he wasn't around for me, didn't pay child support, he wasn't there. This was his way of making amends for not being there. That's what you put in your answer, right?
Right.
But that was after the fact, sir, because according to your own statement to me, you're in the computer store, and he says to you, you know you're going to pay me back for this, and you said yes when I get my settlement from my car accident. So then when you decided to stop paying him, you said, well, he really wasn't around when I was younger. He really didn't pay child support. He owes me this computer. That's what you said. Now, you may...
That's what you said. I didn't say that.
No, that's what you said, sir, because you just told me 5 minutes ago that you had a discussion about repayment in the store when you were buying the computer.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Brock, your son has not acted responsibly. He's not acted responsibly. He may feel badly. He may feel as if he was neglected as a child by his father, all of those things. But courts are supposed to do the right thing with regard to monies that are owed. And even though I really am usually appalled at parents suing their children, or children suing their parents, because I don't understand that as a resolution for issues, I can understand how he was angry, because the reason he decided to make this loan and to let him put the computer on his charge card was because he had acted so responsibly with regard to the phone. And then as soon as he gets the computer, he gets served with these papers from a collection agency that he hasn't made the phone payments. You know, what gives me some cause to pause is why anybody hires somebody who's got these kinds of ethics. This is a question of ethics, young man.
Well, there's different ethics on his part, too. So you can't just say that about me.
No, I'm saying that in this case, which is all I know, and I'm not writing a novel about your family, sir. I'm just hearing one case. One case. And this case, you have acted wholly irresponsibly. You better start acting responsibly. You're 20 years old. You know, you're not a baby anymore. You made $360 worth of payments, which I am giving him credit for, sir. And the combined total of the two bills comes out to $3,143.15. Judgment is for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Morales versus Magana. All parties on Morales versus Magana. Step forward, please.
Cesar Morales lived with Dana Magana for 9 years and promised her a car if she got a license. She didn't get the license, but he got a lover, so she took the car.
Mr. Morales, don't look so unhappy, sir. We haven't started yet. Okay, this was your girlfriend for a while, according to your papers.
For 9 years.
And there came a time recently where when you told her you were going to buy a car, station wagon, for $1,200, and you would give it to her as soon as she got a driver's license, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't get a driver's license?
I've been working on it.
I've been working on becoming 6'1". I have
No.
been unsuccessful. You have been working on getting a driver's license, but so far you didn't get one.
No, not yet.
All right. So you decided that you were going to sell this car because she was driving it without a license, according to your papers. Is that right?
Yes.
And then somehow she got the pink slip for the car and registered it in her own name. You want to tell me how that happened?
Yes. About a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, about the car, and I told her that I was going to give her the car as soon as she gets her driver's license. And a little bit after that, I was seeing somebody else, and I went to her and I told her what I was doing because I felt bad doing it. And she said, okay, that we were going to try to work it out from there. But from there on, I got to see that she was using the car to go and do things that she never done before, sneaking out, staying out.
Just a minute, were you living together?
Yes.
Oh, so you were living together and you were seeing somebody else?
Yes.
Well, at least you were honest about it.
Yes, and I got to see little things that I got to see that, you know, she was trying to, I guess, get back at me one way or the other, and she was using the station wagon that, you know, I got.
You mean get back at you for messing around with somebody else?
Yes.
Okay.
And that went on for almost a year, and until I started finding little things here and there that, you know, indicated that she was trying to get involved with somebody else.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so tell me how it came about that you put the car in your name.
Well, he said that there was a man that was supposed to come over and see the car. And the man was no more interested in the car, so he found another car. A couple days later, a lady came in and said she wanted the car, and that a couple hours she'd come back to drop off the money. So I figured instead of him taking the car up under my feet, I went to the DMV myself and put the car under my name before he had a chance to sell the car.
Now, how much was this lady going to pay for the car?
$1,200.
You knew you had no right to do that, correct?
Right. But he had promised me the car from the beginning.
But he promised you the car if you got a driver's license. But you didn't
Yes.
get a driver's license.
No.
How long did you have this car without a driver's license?
Over a year.
And you were driving it without a license?
Yes.
You know that that's against the law?
Yes, it is.
So why would you do that?
I needed transportation to get around back and forth.
Yeah, but you can't drive a car without a license. Did you try to get a license?
Yes, I've tried
Did you
to get
fail
a
the
license.
test?
No, I passed the test.
So why couldn't you
The
get a
only thing
license?
that's holding me back now is getting a car insured to get the license.
No, I'm talking about back then, during the course of this year. How many driving tests did you take?
To drive the car behind? No, I haven't taken any at all.
Well, why didn't you do that? He promised you he would give you the car.
Yeah, but I couldn't find a car that was insured, so I can take the
Was his
driver's-
car insured? Was this
No.
car insured? Wasn't insured?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not living together anymore, I assume?
No.
Did you find somebody else?
No, I'm staying with my mom.
Did you find somebody else?
No.
You're still not interested in each other anymore?
No.
9 years was enough?
Yeah,
Yes.
more than enough.
You knew it was the wrong thing to do to take the car?
Yes.
Because he had really entrusted you with the pink slip for the car to sell to this lady.
But then, too, I also trusted him for 9 years, and then for him to go out on me with someone else by cheating, I figured after he was cheating, it was just like in controlling. He wanted to control me after that.
Well,
and that's when he figured out that he started losing me when I started pulling away.
The answer to that is not to commit a felony.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Morales, I'm awarding you the judgment that you asked for, which is $1,200, which is what the woman was prepared to pay for the car before it was put in the defendant's name. Where's the car now?
In my driveway.
You have a license for it?
No, I have an appointment for Thursday for a driver's test license.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. Or the car. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy will return in a moment. Her daughter-in-law, Yvonne Roden, smashed her truck window, but the backstory is about a night of booze and a drug deal gone bad.
Order, all rise. Now, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Irish versus Roden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
There are a lot of tentacles to this case, according to the papers that I've read. It appears that the lawsuit itself is over some damage that Mrs. Irish, you allege that your daughter-in-law caused to your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say the damage she caused the truck is about $1,000. She is counterclaiming for $3,500, and that is for being deprived of the right to visit with and have custody of her daughter. We'll get to that counterclaim in a moment. It really is not something that I'm going to entertain legitimately here because there is currently an action pending in another tribunal with regard to custody of the child whose name is Summer Rain. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're the husband.
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you two married and together?
Since
You don't know?
91. And then for a couple of years there was no contact.
Now, this becomes relevant to this case. You are part American Indian, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We are American Indians. We're tribal members of the Shoshone Paiute tribes of Duck Valley, Nevada.
And so that currently there is a custody dispute pending in the tribal court,
Yes, ma'am.
which has jurisdiction over these matters under the U.S. Code.
Yes.
I don't know if people understand that, but from what I gather, if there is a child that has a certain percentage of American Indian blood, any custody disputes must be first resolved within the tribe and unless the tribe wishes to defer to the local state court. Is that the understanding that you have?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't certainly have that understanding when you separated.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
But I'm sure that your attorney has explained that to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what were you doing having anything to do with her with this truck? Let me hear about, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I own the truck. The title's in my name. I
What-
pay the insurance on the truck.
Your Honor, I have proof. I have from DMV, I got yesterday. The title's in my husband's name and I.
Okay,
the
well, let
address-
me, just a second. What kind of truck is this that you
It's
say
a
she damaged?
1976 GMC truck. May I bring these up, Your Honor?
No. Court officer will get the 1976 GM
Yeah,
truck.
I pay the insurance on it. I do have the title, which has been signed over to me.
Well,
It's
just-
my fault because I haven't had it changed through the DMV, although the title is signed over to me in my name.
Apparently there's foul play because they either forged my name because I have
Let me
not
see.
signed.
Where are your papers?
I have not signed no on behind the title.
Okay. So you are still the registered owner of this truck?
Yes, ma'am.
You and your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your defense to this whole action, damage to the truck, is that you can't be accused of damaging your own property.
Well, Your Honor, I had no part of damaging the truck.
I want you, because I read these papers, you tell me, because you were there when this incident occurred, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Start from the beginning of the evening. What were you doing having anything to do with her? I found your response very interesting.
I should say, wanted to maintain a civil relationship for our daughter's sake. I wanted a friendship or whatever could be there to remain civil. Her and her brother called me up. They wanted to go shoot some pool as it was the day after Christmas, visit, whatever. We did. They wanted me to do some other things for them, and I disagreed. I didn't want to.
Well, just a second. I read your answer, sir. Your answer says that they wanted you to purchase drugs for them.
They wanted me to make some phone calls to a friend that they didn't want him to know it was for them. I was thinking I was just being smarter than them, I guess. I was just playing a game with them or whatever, saying, he says another hour, he said another hour. I wasn't making no phone calls to no one.
Just a minute. This is going very fast, so I want to understand it. She and her brother,
Yes, ma'am.
you were all playing pool, and they said to you, make some phone calls to get drugs for us.
Earlier in the day, they
Your Honor, he had
the
drugs
phone.
on possession already. He already had
No,
the
I
drugs
didn't.
on him.
Just
I did
a
not.
second. Just a second. What I don't understand is why would the mother of your child, with whom you were engaged in this lawsuit, even think that you could make a telephone call and get drugs for her? Why, assuming that that's true, why would she think that you had the capacity to call somebody and act as a conduit to get her drugs? Had you ever done that before?
Not for them, or you know what I mean? They wanted me to call the mutual friend.
I understand.
Because they didn't want him to know that it was them that was getting it.
Do you understand what I'm saying
I
to Mrs.
understand
Rhodes?
exactly
Am I
what you're saying.
to me? So there had to be a reason why somebody
yes.
said.
The mutual friend
Technically, yes.
is both of our friends.
Technically,
and
yes.
he has access to it. But I was
So there
asked
had to be a
in the
reason
middle.
why- Listen
Yes,
to-
and that's, Your Honor, that's what I was thinking of when I was making fake phone calls and telling them, well, I'll try a call.
You still didn't answer my question, Mr. Rhodes. Had you ever secured through this mutual friend drugs for your wife before?
No, not for her.
What about not for her?
No, not for her.
Oh, okay.
Himself.
Okay.
He's pending a
Not-
case
not-
right now for possession.
Just a second.
Just
a second. Did you ask him to call this mutual friend for drugs?
No, ma'am.
Come on, listen to me. Listen to me, Mrs. Rhodes. Listen to hey.
Steve came to you crying and you begged me to help your brother Steve. Can I make a phone call?
That sounds right to me. You two sound like just wonderful folks. I've known a lot of couples that have been together, separated, divorced, whatever. I don't know any who would pick, I mean, I know some that would pick up the phone and say, honey, could you pick me up a quart of milk for the baby, or could you bring, 2 dozen Pampers to the house? But I don't know of anybody who would call up their soon-to-be ex-mates and say, could you pick up 2 grams for me? Unless it had been done before. Do we understand each other, Mr. Rhodes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
All right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I pled not guilty. I wouldn't take their deal because I don't know where that stuff came from that night. I didn't have
Apparently
anything
I
on me.
planted it on him.
Anyway,
Yes,
she put it on me, or I don't know where it came from.
This is so fascinating.
Lorraine Irish says her daughter-in-law Yvonne Roden smashed her truck window, but the backstory is about a night of booze and a drug deal gone bad.
Now, let us assume that the scenario went down somehow in that vein, like the way I'm putting it together. Yeah. So then, you didn't get her the drugs, and according to you, she got angry.
She got very upset.
Tell me about it.
That's when she got upset. When we jumped in the truck, I told him, I came back from allegedly making another phone call. I didn't. I just came back and says, hey, look, it ain't gonna happen tonight. It's gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Let's just go home. So we all jumped in the truck and we were leaving. Then she asked if she could go home with me, and when all this is gonna happen, Steve was upset. There was someone from out of town waiting for this stuff. And I said, so what? I ain't worried about that. She wanted to go home with me, and I told her I didn't think it was a good idea. She was very upset. She started hitting the windshield of the truck with her purse. I said, don't do that. The windshield cracked. Then I tried to reach for her purse. She just smashed me in the face with it. My window was rolled down a little bit, so I tried to grab her purse away from her. And when I did, I pushed it out the window. Her brother stops. He's cussing. She's cussing. As soon as he pulled over and stopped to retrieve her purse, I jumped out and jumped over the on-ramp to the freeway. And I ran to a phone back to the bar we were at, and I called her friend Lawana. And I said, come get me and please take me home. This whole night, I knew something was up. Something was going on. I thought I was going to be smarter.
Something was going on? You were with your estranged wife and her brother, who, according to you, was strung out, at least the brother needed drugs so badly he was crying and screaming, and you thought something wasn't going right that night, Mr. Rhodes?
I knew that it was all messed up. Your Honor.
Why didn't you go home within 5 minutes? Miss Irish, what's with him? I haven't gotten to her yet. What's with him?
I told him, don't associate with her, don't go with her, don't have anything to do with her. It's just, over the years, too much trouble. They're divorced now. They are legally divorced. He does legally have custody of the baby. She's disputing this because it went through tribal court, and we're trying to. When she first got out of jail, she's been in jail for a year. She got out of jail. She phoned me.
For what?
Violation of probation.
Drug charges.
And what about your son? Has he ever been arrested for drugs?
No.
Just the night in question.
The night in question.
And that's still pending.
That's pending.
He's looking at prison time.
It's still
no,
pending.
he's not, Your Honor.
Just a second. This is so fascinating.
I walked out the door.
Just a second.
5 minutes later, I'm in the back of a car. I was let go free from the cops. They were taking her to jail. She told the cop what pocket to look in.
Miss Goody Two-Shoes, because I'm not doing no lines, because I've been clean going on a year. Well, okay, I've been out of jail since October. Ever since then, Your Honor. But the night that they were all in the bathroom, okay, I refused to do any lines. They said, what are you, Miss Goody Two-Shoes, too good for us because you guys don't, because you don't want to do no lines? And they were in Luana's bathroom lining it up. And as I went over there, I said, well, fine.
She's lying.
Well, who had that?
Luana, listen to me.
You tell the court.
Listen to me.
Of course we did have lines. The only reason...
Lines, you mean lines of cocaine? You mean...
CR, they had
What
CR.
is that?
Who had that?
Hey! I don't know if you want to talk. Do you want to talk? You sure? You don't have a lawyer. Listen to me. You do not have a lawyer. And what I want to tell you is, he's got a case pending against him. I'm not going to ask him any more questions about these drugs. But I want you to understand that what you say could be used in a criminal proceeding later on. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I assume that they were all doing lines together out at this place where they were playing pool and doing shots and whatever else they were doing. Certainly not the kind of person I would like to have as a father to a little girl. When you have people who are involved in drugs around children, there is bound to be a disaster.
Lorraine Irish says her daughter-in-law Yvonne Roden smashed her truck window, but the backstory is about a night of booze and a drug deal gone bad.
You're very fortunate today. Let me tell you why you're very fortunate today. Someone has come to visit the court today who is an old friend and colleague of mine and happens to be a criminal attorney. We were supposed to have lunch. I'm going to put him to work. Mr. Sparrow, could you come up and speak to this witness, please? I want you to step over here with Mr. Sparrow. He can give you some advice. Over here. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Just relax for a minute, please. You didn't think I'd be putting you to work today. You thought you were just...
It's a privilege to be before you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. I assume that you heard some of the conversation, the questioning of the court before we started.
Did.
Have you had an opportunity to confer with this witness?
I did.
Want to tell me whether she wants to continue to testify?
I have advised her of her constitutional rights, and under those circumstances, she has decided that she will take the Fifth Amendment and not testify.
Okay, good. Why don't you both have a seat right over there?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I understand there's a lot to this case. The reason I filed a civil complaint is the fact that whether she believes it or not, the truck is mine. I do have the title. Whether the registration says her name or not, I have the title. The title is in my name.
Listen to me.
You guys forged my name.
Listen to me. You can't have the title unless she signed over the title to you. Did she sign over the title to you?
My son did.
Your Honor,
Yes.
the title says Robert Roden or Yvonne Roden.
Let me see it.
We don't have the title. It's at the bail bondsman.
Sorry.
Well, listen to me.
And I signed it.
Listen to me. I don't believe that. I don't believe that a title says or. Titles say and, not or.
Your Honor?
So, if the title, then you put in your mother's name, you can't do that without your now ex-wife's signature. Listen to me. Can't do it. This case has so many pieces. I don't even want to get into the whys. He would turn the truck over to you that had been in his name and his wife's name. Do you understand? I don't want to get into that, Miss Irish. Because really what you're saying to me is, at this point, I'm fed up. I don't want her to get away with something else. And what I'm telling you is I've heard very little of this case because it could take 2 hours for me to hear this case, and I still wouldn't get to the bottom line of it. Your son is no bargain, and she is no bargain. Unfortunately, the two of them made a baby. Now, I assume your son lives with you.
Yes.
And he's got a drug charge pending against him.
Yes, Your Honor.
She's decided to take the Fifth Amendment, very smart, because I assume that they were all doing lines together out at this place where they were playing pool and doing shots and whatever else they were doing. Certainly not the kind of person I would like to have as a father to a little girl.
Your Honor.
Yeah, you could step up here. She should have 2 on her side. Yes, you're her mother.
Yes, and I have taken care of Summer Rain since she was 2 years old. Now, he's been in jail, she's been in jail. In the meantime, I've been taking care of this baby.
Listen to me.
You know.
Now she's living with you, your daughter.
No, she's not living with me.
Your daughter just told me that.
Oh.
Your daughter
That's
just told me
all right.
she's living with you.
Oh, her, yes, she is.
Mm-hmm. Both of your children better grow up and start acting responsibly. And if they don't, if both of you are responsible grandmothers, you will see to it that the child is raised in an appropriate house. Now, I don't know whose house that is, but when you have people who are involved in drugs around children, there is bound to be a disaster.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
Listen to me. This truck is half hers. Because if the title was changed by your son, it was changed without her permission. But you damaged half his truck. Let me see the estimates. You understand?
Ma'am, I was never even close to the truck.
You damaged half his truck.
Police report.
They told me to down in Reno, Washoe County.
Shh. Mr. Sparrow, is it all right if I
She's
ask questions
perjuring herself.
with regard to the damage to the truck?
She is perjuring
Objection
herself.
at all.
Thank you. Could you stand up here, please? Were you a witness to the damage to the truck?
Yes, I was.
Would you tell me what you saw?
That night, she was abusive to Robert.
I don't care about Robert. I don't care if she abuses Robert from today till tomorrow. Tell me about the truck.
She went outside because the truck was parked across in the parking lot where I live at. And she went out there and she started hitting on the windshield. She was kicking the doors, cussing.
Okay, now Robert just said that I punched it inside the truck. Now why don't you make up your mind when I did it? Either I did it on the outside or I punched it.
I know when it happened because it was right there at my apartment complex.
They can't get their story straight.
All right, I heard enough. Listen to me. You're all zonked out on shots and booze and lines and everything else. However, there was damage to the truck. Half of the truck belongs to him. You damaged his half of the truck, right? So you're going to pay for half the damage. Damage to the truck grand total is $1,081.99. So I don't like to deal with small numbers. $540 would be about half, Bird.
That sounds about right to me, Judge.
Listen,
This is about the truck, Mom.
this is only about the truck. I have no jurisdiction to make any determination about this little girl. I can tell you now that unless you adults get your acts together, she's going to grow up to be.
We had an agreement.
Listen to me. If I were a judge, I wouldn't give you two people joint custody of a goldfish. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $540. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
Trên tay mình đang cầm đây là cái dòng phở tươi của Yến Đài Nam. Thì hiện nay thì phở thì có rất là nhiều loại, nhưng mà đối với dòng phở tươi thì hiện nay trên thị trường đang rất là ít, vì hầu như là phở bằng phở khô. Còn đây đối với dòng Yến Đài Nam đây thì những ai là cái tín đồ của phở tươi thì nên thử tham khảo và nên thử cái dòng phở tươi của Yến Đài Nam này. Rất mùi vị rất là thơm, ngon, đúng chuẩn phở tươi 100%. Và điều đặc biệt là không chứa chất bảo quản và không sử dụng màu tổng hợp. Đó. Những thành phần chính có trong mỗi gói phở như thế này thì bao gồm có vắt phở thì có gạo, tinh bột khoai mì, muối, chất nhũ hóa và gồm có chất ổn định. Có mỗi gói như thế này thì bao gồm có gói bò hầm, gói súp và có gói dâu. Gói bò hầm thì gồm thịt bò, nước hầm xương, thịt trâu, muối, đường, chất điều vị, gừng, dầu thực vật và đường caramel. Còn gói súp thì gồm có đường, muối, chất điều vị, bột nước tương, bột nành, hương liệu, bò tổng hợp, bột quế, bột hồi, thảo quả, bột ớt, hành lá sấy và chất chống đóng vón. Còn đối với gói dầu thì có dầu thực vật, mỡ bò, gừng, hành tây, bột quế, bột hồi, thảo quả, suất ớt, hương liệu bò tổng hợp và bột phở bò chiết xuất. Đó là những cái thành phần tạo nên mỗi gói phở tươi như thế này của Yến Đài Nam như thế này. Và bánh phở của Yến Đài Nam có cái thành phần từ cái tinh bột gạo và được hấp chín bằng hơi nước gạo để làm nên cái bánh phở có cái đặc tính là hút ít nước, nhiều bột và không dính thương được truông tại các cái vùng chiếm trũng của một số tỉnh thành tại Việt Nam. Gói phở là sự kết hợp giữa sợi phở tươi mềm mượt với gói Gia vị hầm đầy đặn, quyện vào nước cốt hầm xương và các cái gia vị phở truyền thống như gừng, bột quế để tạo nên một gói phở ngon như thế này. Đó, chúng ta nên thử và cảm nhận cái phở tươi của Yến Đài Nam này rất là thơm và rất là ngon.